Hi, everyone, and welcome to Cold Reads, brought to you by Resonant Moon Audiobook Solutions. I am your host, Laura Nicole, and this week, today, we are doing this much earlier because our guest reader that we have on the line is all the way across the Atlantic. Say hello to Dave MacIver.
Hello.
And Dave, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I'm me. I do various acting bits now and again, I guess. I don't do that much anymore. I do the music podcast for a site called Inverness Gigs, invernessgigs.co.uk. I better plug that. It's the only thing I can plug audio-wise at the moment. I'm in a couple of shows still, but not too much just now. But yeah, I'll be doing other stuff at some point. I'm all over Broken Sea and darker projects with older stuff. I played the Doctor at Giant Gnome. I don't think they exist anymore.
They do exist, actually. I just had Chris Cree on a couple of days ago, and she's still doing work with Giant Gnome. So
I was their Doctor a long time ago.
We've done a lot of weird shows together. I think we were villains together at one point, and I think that's my favorite role.
I'm
thinking of Beyblade.
Is that in the superheroes thing?
That's with that was Alan White's show on Broken Sea. I think it was the spin-off show Beta Flight.
Yeah. Aye. There was a couple of movies in that, I think. I think I got killed off though. But that was fun.
Yeah.
I liked it. I was obviously looking at me, see I'm not, but I was a 400-pound giant New York guy. I obviously can't play in real life. So
well, I can't turn into a kestrel, so there we go.
You put some effort in.
Yeah, well, I could. I mean, it would take some CGI.
There's a eclipse coming, so
yeah,
get Rocker Howard and you might have a shot.
You never know. All right, so if we are lucky, my father will also be joining us, who is also a Broken Sea alum. So this episode should be called Broken Sea Alum Reunite.
Yes.
And if he does show up, I will have him play. I'll have him play Rixon Amberstone because that'll be something easy for him. For you, so as I was saying before the show, we've got both a big goblin speaking role and we've got a big troll speaking role. And we were saying, I was telling the audience yesterday, it does feel like last week, that one of the great things about being able to write for an audiobook is that you can also write descriptions of how people look. So trolls have really elongated features and they have really big tusks that come out of the bottom lip. So given the description of that versus a goblin who is kind of old agey but still watches modern crime procedural shows, police procedural shows, which would you rather do?
Whatever you want me to. Just tell me the color I've got to read and which one it is, and I'll do it.
All right. Then you are going to read the not hot green. So you're going to read the sagey green color.
Sagey green. Is that the kind of grey ones?
Yeah, the kind of grey ones.
Right, okay. Which guy is that?
That is the goblin.
The goblin is the oldie worldy guy who watches a lot of stuff, or the guy who...
Yeah. I will do the tusk.
Okay, first one. Okay.
I will do the tusk people. So doing a quick recap. Beatrix Stonebriar and her mentor Rixon Amberstone and their friend, or Beatrix's friend Turek, are seeking the help of the trolls for for countering this curse that two star-crossed lovers have enacted to create a change in the hearts of the creatures, the magical creatures and the humans. However, they misinterpreted it, and it actually is a spell that is called Derir Tri Ruin, which means conform through ruin. So it is threatening the Elder Wood, and so Beatrix, Turik, and Rix and Amberstone are beseeching the greatest minds of the Elder Wood, the trolls, for their help in countering the curse. However, there is some animosity because of Rix and Amberstone being a former Dark Dweller hater, and he's trying to turn it around. So we are about to see what becomes of this venture, and so I will pick up from just before we ended the last episode. Honorable members of the Alchemist Guilds. Well, that was a good start. I hoped I could keep up the speech pattern. It has come to my companions and I to beseech your assistance from this curse. We are all in perilous danger. We need the ingenious ferocity of your minds and keen skills to help create a counterspell to keep the poison from killing our homes and all those who live in the Elder Wood. One of the trolls on the 3rd level above us raised his hand. I nodded. Why should we, trolls, help the sky and tree treaders? Unlike Stonebriar of the Watch, they would not give a trolls a passing glance unless they thought we were useful. This threat does not just affect the world above, Rixon said loudly. You were not called upon to speak, Amberstone of the Flame. You are in our lands now and should remember your place. Gablo spoke softly, but his words were weighted. I held a hand out, pressing down the motion to indicate that Rixon needed to calm down. Be that as it may, my friend is correct. If this poison is allowed to come to fruition, part of the destruction will take place on the surface, but the earth and stone will absorb all. It would not take long for the earth and stone to turn against you. I recall the devastation of many years back at a cave-in I was in. If this curse goes unchecked, it could be the end of one of the most skilled races alive today. Will you help us? We must discuss this, Gablo said. Wait here. A few moments passed. When they released themselves from their circle of confidence by the hearth, Gablo asked, What would you have us do? I nodded to Turik, who produced a scroll from his pack.
This is old magic, written in Voidian.
That is of little concern, Turik of the Watch, Gablo said kindly. Well, as kindly as he could sound. We trolls learn Voidian and common speak when we are young. We shall be able to translate this without issue. I continued. You are all the greatest minds of the Elderwood. If you can come up with something to counter this spell, my companions and I will seek out the ingredients. But this must be done quickly. At most, we have a day before the poison eats through the barrier that is containing it. Then excuse us for an hour. We will call for you when we have a solution. Marka. A troll woman dressed in initiate robes came forward from the shadows beside Rixon. It made him visibly shudder, but I suspected it was more because she came out of nowhere, as it seemed. Take our guests to the Well of Light while they wait. The initiate nodded and showed us out of the hall. Before we were even out of the room, I could hear Goblo start commanding the room to gather their notes. Marka never said a word to us. She just silently padded along the stone hallways, turning left, then right again, and after a few more halls, one last left. She opened the door to what we thought was going to be another room, but instead it opened up to something very unexpected.
I thought this was just a myth,
said Turek, glancing around the room. I'm pretty sure that all of our jaws hung open. The room was an enormous natural cave with 4 crevices that let light in from above. The moon was full and shone brightly on the cavern with a pure blue glow. The door closed behind us with a heavy creak. Where is she going? Are we locked in here? Rickson asked, suddenly in a panic. Relax, I said, going over to the door. The door is still open. We can get out either here or through the roof of the cavern if need be. I don't like this. Think for a moment, will you? I went over and placed my hand on his shoulder. This full role reversal was getting a little easier to process, but still unnerving. They know that we as fairies do not like to be underground. This is some place where we can see the open sky, and there is moss and rocks all around us. Look! I pointed over to one of the pools of moonlight. You can even see the roots of the trees above us. This place is supposed to calm us. Turek, what do you think of it? Rickson asked. I was surprised by his question, as was Turek.
Well, I have heard of this place. It's supposedly where the last meeting of the races was held, back when there was still an opening to the void. Do you see those charred bits over there?
He indicated some darkened earth and trees that had not grown back.
That is where the last phoenix came to rest. And this great hole...
He pointed upward to the largest of the openings.
The giants made this so that the representatives could hear everything.
He listed all of the different races with such enthusiasm. I imagine it would be like some historian finding King Arthur's court. Were there dragons present? I asked. I had wondered about that.
No.
Turek scuffed his feet.
Dragons lost their minds when they came out of the void. They became feral and wild. I'm pretty sure this is why they border on extinction. The griffins were wise to stay where they were.
I had no idea you had such an affinity for history, said Rickson. He smiled. For the first time since I died in his home, he smiled. And it was at Turek.
I love the tales of yore, when the races led their strength to one another for the common good. That's how it should have been in my mind. Most people agree, but are too scared to do anything about it. I guess that's why Beatrix and Eric and the rest of the Watch feel like family to me, more so than my own kin. We share the same goal.
At this point, he realized what he had done. The snarky facade was gone, and Turek, the idealist, stood before us. I smiled and went over to him. Right as I got to his face, I raced up to his bald head and rubbed my knuckles into it. You old softy. We sat around the pool for the naiads and talked. Turek and Rickson talked, and I listened. They were getting to know one another through the kind of historical stories that each enjoyed. If I were a psychology student, this would have been a fascinating experiment. Just as they were talking about Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, the door to the troll halls creaked open. In stepped Goblo with the initiate Marka behind him. We all stood to greet him. It is appropriate that you all are here in this room, for the task at hand is not an easy one, especially given the time constraints. He looked worn and tired. By blood, this tragedy has begun. Therefore, by blood, it must be rectified. Someone has to die? I asked. Hasn't there been enough death as it is? You understand. You misunderstand. It requires blood, but not death. Gablo held out a hand to indicate that we should retake our seats around the Naiad pool. This threat to all who live in the world within the Elder Wood. This is a threat to all who live within the Elder Wood. Thankfully, it is only localized to this portion of the magical world. This makes it possible for us to be able to meet the demand in the time frame necessary.
But what do we have to do?
Turek interjected. If you would let me finish, I will disclose the information to you. So impatient. But I suppose that is well given the nature of this quest. Blood from each of the 7 original races of the Elderwood must be collected. The rest of the components we can gather here. Rickson piped up then. Just any blood? No. This must be blood that is freely given. He slipped a couple of vials out from the sleeve of his robe. I can help you get started. He went over to the pile of ash where the phoenix had come to rest and scooped up the ashes. He murmured something indistinguishable, then returned to us. He then drew out a knife and cut the side of his hand, filling the vial with his own blue blood. Turek started listing the original founders aloud.
Okay, so we have Troll, Phoenix, and we know Goblin and Elf blood are readily available.
No fairy blood? I asked. Rickson answered. The fairies did not come to the Elderwood. We were born here, though. True enough. You might be the catalyst for change, Goblo agreed. Where have I heard that before? I thought to myself. Turek resumed his line of thinking.
So that leaves Giant, Centaur, and...
His face turned sullen as he looked into the pool of water in front of us.
And Naiad.
Let's worry about one thing at a time. Naiads are closer to the Fae than the giants and centaurs, and the centaurs just barely tolerate me. True, Rickson replied, but the fact that they are amiable to you at all is more than the rest of us can say. Okay, so I will go talk to the centaurs, but it will take me at least a day to get there, and we do not have that kind of time. And who is going to go talk to the giants? I said. Turek rose from his spot. This is actually you, sorry.
All right, I'll go. I need only 1 vial?
He approached Gablo, holding out his hand. Yes, but it must be freely given, said the troll. He produced another glass vial from his cloak. And remember that giants are just as afraid of you as you are of their size.
Got it. Make nice with the giants and ask for one to prick their finger to save the wood.
His gangster impersonation did not fail to make my lips curl into a half smile. He secured the vial in his bandolier and set off, scurrying up the roots and branches that hung down from the openings into the moonlight. He looked around to get his bearings, and then he was gone. I sighed in resignation. All right, off to the crazy people I go. Do you have another vial for me? I do, answered Gablo. But I also have something else to assist you. Amberstone, will you shrink this for me while I cast for young Beatrix here? What will happen with Rickson while I'm away? I asked. I would like to work with him on this spell. It may be that he can shed some light on how to obtain the essence of Naiad while we wait for them to arrive, Goblo said. Rixon nodded his agreement and started casting the shrinking charm on the vial. In the meantime, the elder troll held out his hand. The initiate came forward and placed a golden satchel in his palm. Now then, come forward, Stonebriar of the Watch, and receive this blessing of the trolls. I complied, a little hesitant of the bag that he was now opening. He took his long, gnarled fingers and dipped them into the bag, producing a fine red powder. I could smell rose, sandalwood, dragon's blood, and some other kind of root that it was difficult to place. As fast as the sparrow flies, he began to cast the spell, sprinkling the red dust over me. Let your eyes be alert for danger. May the wind speed you on your journey. May the gods of the wood favor you and let you return home before the next moon rise. I felt a pulsing all around me. My wings were aching as though restrained. Everything around me felt like it was moving in slow motion. I was impatient to leave as Rixon helped me fasten my pack back around me. As soon as I was certain that I had all my necessary materials, I gave the two elders a quick salute, then left the cavern. No sooner that I allowed my wings the freedom to beat at the speed they seemed to need, than I found the landscape streaking by as though I was watching some film in fast forward. With the current of wind assisting me, I found that I could cover a great deal of ground with little effort. That stuff Goblo gave me was sure potent. And that's chapter 13. Yay! And we did it without my dad, sadly, but that's okay. I'll get him for another one. So what did you think?
It's good.
Yeah?
The half a chapter that I've read is good.
I mean, I was trying to figure out which one spoke more, and I should have given you Goblo, but what can I say?
Yeah, I was probably a little bit all over the joint with the voice. If I'd spent a bit of time ahead of it, putting it together, I just finished watching The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah?
So he would have sounded a bit more like Polly Walnuts if I had time.
Well,
so that's who I had in my head. But I was probably a bit all over the place because I'm rusty. So.
Well, you know what? That's the whole thing about cold reads, is that it's the purpose, in my view, is to give kind of a snapshot into the lives of voice actors and how they figure out the role, how they figure out the character and the voice that they're going to use.
Nobody else judged other voice actors by my terrible attempts.
It's
not fair.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it is in the audition process. When people are auditioning for roles, they do what they think the director wants to hear, and the director, in my experience, will latch on to something that this one actor did that they can either build on or is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
Or if you get stuck. I've got at least one role I got because they must not have had anyone else auditioning for it because it was terrible.
Oh, really?
But, one of my voices in Mad Max, I can't do an Australian accent at all, and I just ended up having this little farmer role. The rest of it's fine, but it's awful, and they clearly just didn't have anybody else go for the role.
Oh, I always
like
think
3 lines. No.
I'm sorry? What did you just say?
I said it was like 3 lines, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, the throwaway lines are fun to do sometimes, where you can just like be wacky or whatever, or just be yourself. So, Dave, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you online?
Well, they can find me online various places, but the only active thing, well, I'm doing a couple of things. I'm in a Star Trek show, but I don't know where that is. I think
Okay.
Star Rabbit Tracks is still going. Hold on a second, let me find it. I've only recorded a couple episodes of it, and I'm getting spam from a place that's got Trek in the name, so that doesn't help me find the scripts. I'm in a Star Trek. Right, Alex Matthews is doing a show somewhere. Asylum, but I don't know what site that's on. But I do the music podcast for Inverness Gigs, so
Awesome.
check that out again.
Yeah, definitely.
We just had the last two episodes were a special at the biggest music festival around here, and it's half drunken interviews with a bunch of musicians, so it's pretty good.
Isn't that the only way to do an interview is when you're half drunk?
No, I was trying to be sensible, and then we finished. So 2 interviews from the end, I'm flat out eating a venison burger while I'm interviewing people because I was done. And then 2 drunken people came up, so we had to talk to them.
You know, that happens. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And I do want to let people know that this show is brought to you by Resonant Moon Audiobook Solutions. You can check us out at resonantmoon.com. You can find me online on Twitter at @LNicoleAudio. If you would like to be on the show, you can send me an email. Laura Nicole Audio @gmail.com. We also have a Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/cold-reads. If you want spoilers for the book, you can go ahead and buy my book on Amazon. The link is in the show notes along with the link for Inverness Gigs. And this show is covered under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. That means that you can download it, you can share it, you can repost it. Just don't edit it because it's perfect the way it is, just like you. And link back to this YouTube page so that people can know where they can find more of these episodes. If you like what I'm doing so far, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I am going to be doing a happy dance once I get to 20 subscribers, and I'll be really excited when I get there. Let's see. And we will be accepting short stories starting in September for this show. So if you've got a story that's under 4 pages long, go ahead and send it my way because I would love to read somebody else's story on Free Reads. That's it for me. Thanks again to my excellent guest, Dave Maciver, and we will be back. I will be back tomorrow for another episode of Cold Reads. Say goodnight, Dave.
Good night, Dave.